Please welcome singer-songwriter Cody Simpson.
What have we done to the earth? We are wolves parading proudly through concrete forests where our brothers of green used to stand gallantly, hunting on eagerly, eyes feasted on a destination of destruction. Our progress is appetizing, and our appetite distracts us from our suffocation. I wake up, my eyes stinging, peeling back the layers of society's blinding film, like a destructive motion picture in black and white. Where is the color, the majestic azure of the sea, the greens, browns, reds of the forests and the trees? It is not new knowledge that we are one, the trees our lungs, the rivers our bloodstream. We are interconnected. It is not new knowledge. It is ancient knowledge, and ultimately what happens to the earth happens to us. Unless we're willing to encourage our children to reconnect with and appreciate the natural world, we can't expect them to help protect or care for it. And I feel that from a young age, we're groomed to believe in becoming efficient technicians for the greed and the power of the man. We are taught to enslave ourselves into the current state of society and just accept our position in the hierarchical order without question. We must learn to teach our younger generation to appreciate the natural world around them. It is the key to all of life. Why pick a flower for your home where it will die within a week or two when you can leave the flower in its home and even care for it or water it, where it will last forever? I will share one of my favorite poems from Rumi. Are you jealous of the ocean's generosity? Why would you refuse to give this joy to anyone? Fish don't hold the sacred liquid in cups. They swim the huge, fluid freedom. As we go about our daily lives, we are brainwashed into the belief that we must take and consume, blinded by segregation in social class and income level, segregation in religion and philosophy. We adopt the feeling we are separate from one another, and therefore separate from nature. Man worships a god or higher spirit, yet is unaware that the spirit he worships is the same spirit that is all around him, that flows within, and the same spirit that he is destroying, the same spirit that runs in the earth beneath the chapel that he has built atop the earth. Many man has drawn to the power of evil, of greed, for power over the people, the land, and the sea. But these are needs of the ego, not of the spirit. This greed blinds a man's mind so harshly from all of life's beauty that he cannot fulfill his needs in any other way than by playing both sides of the chessboard against themselves, to poison the oceans and pollute the air we breathe, or to tell us that oil is the way you must fuel your car, and then capitalize off of pseudo-environmental regulatory systems. My name's Cody Simpson, and I grew up on the Gold Coast of Australia, one of the most mystical stretches of coastline across the world. I'm a musician and lover of the ocean. Throughout my life, I've felt deeply connected to the sea and the world around me, and my eyes have only grown wider to the destruction we're causing. I'm grateful to be speaking in front of you today. I'd like to thank UN Development for having me, and I've previously had the pleasure of working with the UN during their World Humanitarian Day last year. Today I'll be touching on important environmental topics such as climate change and ocean preservation, and many of the issues and causes I've discovered to be instrumental in bringing us to the devastating situation we find ourselves in today. As an avid surfer, I like to remain cautious of oil spills and leaks in the water wherever they may occur. This is a severe form of pollution and hazardous to marine and human health. Whales, dolphins, manatees, sea turtles are air breathers and all must come to the surface frequently to take a breath of air. In a large oil spill, these animals may be exposed to volatile chemicals during inhalation. On April 20, 2010, the BP Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded, launching one of the greatest environmental disasters in history. 4 million barrels of oil flowed into the Gulf of Mexico over the course of 3 months. The oil is now scattered across 1,200 square miles of seabed, with tar balls still washing ashore. However, BP will dispute this claim. The long-term effects of this and many other oil spills on the environment remain unknown, but possibly worse than we could imagine. This urges me to shed light on the greed and carelessness of the oil and fossil fuel industries. They are highly aware of the destruction they are causing, yet actively promote campaigns suppressing climate change awareness in order to keep business running. Hidden behind the gas pump is a global oil supply chain that is changing in profound and damaging ways. Inexpensive and easily accessed oil reservoirs are drying up, forcing major industry players to locate, extract, and refine even riskier, costlier, and dirtier sources of oil, like the use of fracking or tar sands. When you pump the earth full of all this junk, it completely pollutes the underground water flow. Fracking also produces hazardous air pollution and the potential triggering of earthquakes. Extracting bitumen from tar sands and refining it into products like gasoline is significantly costlier and more difficult than extracting and refining liquid oil. Tar sands currently account for about 5% of all US gasoline, and production has been scaling up, which could have serious consequences on the air, water, and climate. We are literally running into the ground. However, if acted on, there are solutions. This brings me to fuel alternatives such as biofuels, many an idea that is actively suppressed by current oil corporations. Biofuels are made from plant-based sources, including everything from corn to algae, and can also be used to produce electricity. The best biofuel alternative, for example, can produce 90% fewer global warming emissions compared to gasoline. There are many minds like Nikola Tesla and Henry Ford who had, before the gasoline boom, invented even more sustainable alternatives. Nikola Tesla, among his other brilliant and borderline inconceivable concepts, theories, and inventions, had created the AC induction motor car, otherwise known as the first electric car in the early 1900s. However, this idea poses a serious threat to John D. Rockefeller and his plan for an automobile industry that would rely heavily on oil refined into gasoline. The combination of a combustion motor and its need for gasoline would create a fortune and rescue Rockefeller from the falling price of kerosene due to the advent of electricity. Another ecological alternative invented by Henry Ford in 1941 was the first Model T Ford, which was constructed as a hemp-fueled and hemp-bodied prototype car. The plastic-bodied panels were composed of 70% cellulose fibers, including industrial hemp, mixed with a resin binder and made for extremely safe and sturdy material. The car, almost literally grown from the soil, had an impact strength 10 times stronger than steel. Henry Ford ran 40,000 vehicles on hemp fuel from only 10,000 acres of land. The emissions are what you exhale, and the next year's crop reconverts that back into oxygen. Now that is a natural cycle fuel. I quote Henry Ford when I say, "Why use up the forests which were centuries in the making and the mines which required ages to lay down if we can get the equivalent of forest and mineral products in the annual growth of the hemp fields? This single plant has the potential to make positive impacts to society and to the environment, if only it were freed from control." No, industrial hemp does not contain THC, the component of the plant used in its recreational drug use, but its association with the stigma around marijuana and its many unfortunate legal cases have created major stumbling blocks. One of the reasons marijuana was prohibited in the 20th century was to suppress hemp fuel and fiber production, so that once again, these small but wealthy groups of people could profit from the capital-intensive petrochemical alternatives that dominate our political process and our economy today. It has become evident that a few of us are much more responsible for the effects of climate change than all of us combined. The ripple effects. Our seas provide livelihoods and food to millions, allow transportation between nations, and supply a vast amount of energy. But they are under threat in many ways, such as nutrient pollution and a vast increase in coastal areas starved of oxygen, overfishing, plastics pollution, habitat loss, and ocean acidification. Due to human CO2 emissions, the oceans are acidifying rapidly, perhaps faster than ever before, with ocean acidity increasing by 30% over the last 50 years and already starting to impact the functioning and integrity of ocean ecosystems. I would now like to disclose the leading contributor to these aquatic issues, along with deforestation, greenhouse gases, pollution, species extinction, habitat loss, topsoil erosion, and virtually every other environmental ill. We call it animal agriculture. People's hunger for mass-produced, poor-quality food is creating a devastating environmental issue. Did you know the production of a single burger patty wastes 660 gallons of water? The production of a pound of meat is your equivalent to 6 months showering. If we use the land that we are currently using to provide the grain for mass cattle and livestock production as a whole, we could feed the entire world with just that grain. Our bodies do not need to drink milk or consume beef the way that our current population does today. In fact, you do not need to eat or consume anything at the rate that any of us do today, ever. And that is the problem, the real problem behind our consumer society. I'd like to conclude with some final yet shocking facts. July 2016 was the hottest month on record ever. 50% of the world's rainforests have disappeared. Within 40 to 50 years, the Great Barrier Reef that I was fortunate enough to grow up on will die out. Global temperature rises wreaks havoc on the delicate balance of our world. Impacts of climate change include more erratic storms, heat waves, droughts, flooding, increasing wildfires, and sea level rise. More than 1 million species face extinction, from koala bears to rhinos to clownfish. If everyone in the world is living like the current American or Australian, then we are going to need 5 planets worth of resources, and I'd like to know where we're going to find those. Now, singing a more positive note, I'd like to believe that the revolution has begun. I believe we are experiencing a major paradigm shift in human consciousness at this time. In the grand scheme of things, humans have only been parading this planet for a minuscule amount of time, and with the almost exponential progression in current modern-day society, many people are yet to be educated, and many are only just realizing the damage that has been done. But there is still hope and promise for a better future. More than 150 heads of state, which is more than any other gathering of heads of state on a single day in history, came together and struck the Paris Agreement. They pledged that all countries, large and small, will take action against climate change. And nearly all countries have put forward their targets, and it's up to us to ensure that they keep their promises. Don't forget, we are the people, and as the people, we have the power to make the difference. We all wear the same sun, and there is balance to be found. Nature cannot speak to you in language, but it can speak to you if you listen. There is rhythm in the trees and melodies in the currents of the seas. And as a musician myself, I will sing and play along to the best of my ability and use my voice for the benefit of our world. Nature does not ask of us anything in return. All it asks of us is that we protect it and preserve it. Remember, in destroying the earth, we are destroying our relationship with our earth, and therefore destroying ourselves. The less of the earth we have left, the less of it we will come to care about it, until it is too late, until the day that we realize that we have been destroying ourselves all along. Thank you very much.